I'm amazed at the data and information that you have given. As a layman, I'm really very honored to be here to listen to your lectures. So my question is, what are the lessons we can learn from the recent Sri Lanka experiment with avoiding use of fertilizer? It was a disaster which struck very quickly and the economy went into doldrums. What are the lessons we can learn from that? Thank you.
I'd like to bring a very important point to the notice of NITI Aayag as well as all the agriculture universities in the country. We always calculate yield. Yield should be in rupees generated for every cubic meter of water used. That should be the scale of measurement. We always say this many tons. It's not relevant. How many rupees you are generating by using 1 cubic meter water? If government is spending some amount of money, how many mandates you are creating for every 1 lakh rupees spent? And that is the only way you start measuring how many kgs per acre, how many rupees the farmer is getting per year per acre. This is the only way and this is the only answer which can drive the entire country and solve all the problems. I am a practicing agriculturist. I never worked in any government. I am a successful farmer myself. I am happy. I am making a lot of money. Same concepts can be deployed across the country at the small farmer level also. So, scale of measurement should change. No tonnage, no kg. It is how many rupees per acre per year per person the farmer is getting. That should be the only scale of measurement.
Exports and imports, like when it is prices are going up, you stop exporting, and the prices come down, then you start importing. So how do you measure? In cotton it is happening. The same with chili, same with rice, same with milk. Milk means not only raw milk, it is a byproduct of the milk. So how do we synchronize with this? And increasing the production and per acre income for the farmer also is going to reduce when it is exports and imports, when you are not tallying with the farmer production. When you give exports, then the farmer's produce is over from his stock. That means suppose the farmer produces in November, December, there you don't allow to stop them, then but in May or April you try to export them. So again the prices goes up. So who is going to benefit from that? It is the middleman or the businessman who are getting that. So how do we synchronize this? The same way that add on to Changaludi, to link with the business people or the exporters, imports, and this of course the department where commercial, that is, you can say, where it is not linked to the agriculture. When you are going for export and import, I think it should be the agriculture ministry should be discussed whether exports should be given or imports should be given.
Is it not time for us to take a re-look at the structure of the agricultural scenario, namely the land laws, the sealing laws, tenancy laws, land transfer regulations? These have shackled agriculture and the agriculturists. Is NITI Aayag going to take a look at these and amend some of these laws which came in the 1950s and 60s, have been relevant at that time, but perhaps today they are not? Thank you.
Myself, Dr. Srinivas Reddy from Agriculture University. Do you think it is the high time to remove MSP as it is causing, especially rice and wheat, are causing more damage to sustainability and crop diversification? And what is your opinion on legalization of MSP?
Gone through some information related to ICAR. It has signed MOU with Amazon, then Bayers actually it has acquired the Monsanto seeds company, and in that MOU it was mentioned all the information of the agriculture data, like what is the land available in the country, what are the crops that are going to be grown in the country. All the data is given to these companies. It's almost selling our data to these companies for some reason. So is it not bad for the country and the farmers? And already the farming sector has been sinking, and the farmers are suffering. In some cases, farmers are not even going for the farming in the country. In this case, if we sell this data, or if we share this data to these people, the Amazon or bears and these kind of people, how do we secure the farming and the farmers in the country?
Anything are the growth drivers, irrigation, identifying irrigation as a growth driver, etc. Are we looking at the sustainability implications on the future generations? Dr. Seema from Agriculture University. My question is, we are aiming for a $30 trillion economy by 2047. So in the roadmap which we have projected, what are the important components which the agriculture has to contribute to reach that particular target? Interesting lecture. I don't come from any agriculture background, but I was just reading your note on para 2.1 on sustainability and climate change. And I found one sentence which was very interesting, and I thought maybe you might throw some more light on, where you're talking about India exporting water-intensive crops, whereas we are exporting and we are importing less water-consuming crops. And you have said a statement, India is now the biggest exporter of virtual water, that is the water embedded in exported agri-food products. On the other hand, large sections of the population do not get adequate water for drinking and other uses. So I think if is there any impetus from the government to change this or get some other policy changes in this?
You are aware that indiscriminate usage of fertilizer and pesticides is totally destroying the soil, flora and fauna, and organic carbon percentage is gradually depleting in the soils. What are the measures government is initiating on this? Why the organic agriculture is not being supported by the central government?
Material in my presentation for some of the issues you raised, but I skipped those, and I tried to summarize most of what I said in terms of action in the last slide. I will now come to specific questions, begin from Professor Mahendra Reddy. Impact of climate change on agriculture. First of all, agriculture and climate change have two-way relationship. It is not only that agriculture is impacted by climate change, agriculture also impacts climate change. So this is what makes agriculture special when we are discussing climate change. For example, industry also affects climate change, but industrial production is not affected by climate change. So it is a one-way relationship there. But here agriculture is two-way relationship, that it affects climate and it also gets affected by climate change. So that's why in case of agriculture, you can't be unmindful of climate change. Car manufacturer can be unmindful of what is happening to climate change, okay, to that extent, but agriculture cannot be. Now, two kind of changes are happening. One is rise in temperature. Second is that the carbon content in air is increasing. Incidentally, Dr. Praveen Rao can probably explain these things better, but I am told by agriculture scientists that increase in carbon content in the atmosphere has a slight positive impact on productivity of crop, because plants love carbon dioxide during synthesis. So only, but that is very, very small. The second thing is very, very important. It is a complex thing. It needs to be understood with the required nuances. There were papers in 90 which just made this forecast that climate change will result in 5% lower yield here, 10% lower yield there. But actually yield has been increasing. So many people just question it. Is it that such forecasts they were wrong? They said in 90 that because temperature is rising, yield will decline, but actually yield didn't decline, yield increased. The reason is that so far, and maybe in another 15-20 years, science will be able to counter the adverse effect of climate change on plants. But once you reach a tipping point, then science can't play any role. Like 3 years back, we got terminal heat for wheat, and wheat yield suddenly in many areas dropped by as much as 20%. But Indian Agriculture Research Institute was already working towards that problem, and they immediately announced, next year you will get a seed where terminal heat will not adversely impact the climate change. So like this, so far, scientists are able to counter the adverse effect of climate change, but they will not be able to do it endlessly. Now you see from nature they just look at that there is some plant in the nature which can survive at 50 degrees. So you take some gene and do something, so they are able to do it, but later they may not be. But impact of climate change is evident from one fact. If you look at the real cost of production of crops in India, it is rising. Despite technological change happening, actual meaning of technological change, true meaning of technological change is that when you have a variety, if it is a different technology, you should be able to produce more for the same, or you should be able to produce same with less. That is the definition of positive technological change. But what is happening is that we are able to produce more, not with same, with more. We are able to stretch productivity of wheat 3 ton from 3 ton per hectare to 4 ton per hectare. Now possible to take it to 5 ton per hectare, but that will require that you have to use more fertilizer, you have to use more water, you have to apply more care, more sophistication, all those things. So there is an extension of frontier, there is no shift of frontier, there is no shift in production function. So it is already evident that because of climate change, there is a stress, and because of this, average cost of production in real terms is rising. That is also a factor behind rising terms of trade, that you are forced to increase price in real term every year because cost of production is increasing. Unless technological change negate it is happening. So I would say that still there is a window with the science that they can check the adverse effect of climate change for some more years, but not forever. So we have to see to it that temperature doesn't go beyond that tipping point. Then science also become incapable to address that. Second is water scarcity. I was delivering a lecture on International Water Day last week. I share one statistic with the intelligent audience. I said in India we have 18% of global population, 4% of global fresh waters, and only 2% of land, only 2% of arable land. We never talk of land scarcity, but we often talk about water scarcity. Why? What is there? One is that someone asked this question, that our emphasis has been to increase output per unit of land, not to increase output per cubic of water. That emphasis has not been there. And why there is a scarcity when we have 2 times the land water? We have 2 times compared to what is land. There are many reasons for it. In India, we go for profligate use of water. Water scarcity is only in our talk, not in our action. If you compare what is the amount of water used to produce 1 ton of food, any food, rice, wheat, corn, soybean, this is a published data in one international report. India used 2 to 3 times water to produce 1 ton of food, compared to any major agriculture country like China, Brazil, USA, etc. Therefore, if we have water use productivity or water use efficiency of any of those major agriculture countries, like we know that we use 3,500 liters of water to produce 1 kg of, some people say paddy, some people say rice. But you look at China, it is not even 1,800. It is less than that. So if we are able to achieve water use efficiency of major agriculture countries, then with the same water we can extend irrigation to 90% area and have some surplus water for use in industry, urban kind of things, all those things. But incidentally, we give free water, free power, free water, and it is used indiscriminately. Like I am not waste subsidy on power again. My farmer friend will say that you are saying that free water is leading to those kind of things. Like I proposed to government of Punjab when we were working out diversification package for them, you keep giving subsidy to the farmer. Like right now it is 8,000 crore rupee that state is giving. Maybe Telangana also gives 6,000 crore or whatever. On per hectare basis, you give that to the farmer. And you link it to price index for future. As price index of electricity will increase, we will keep it increasing. Meter for electricity or every 2 well, let them pay as per the power used by them. There will be a saving to the farmer. He will use less water because now meter is there. He will save some money because earlier he was applying 30 irrigation, now he will apply 20 irrigation. He will get subsidy in the cash form. There will be saving for the society of water and power. So we need to go for these kind of innovation to pay incentive to our farmers. So if there is a free power, etc., then you will find that more number of irrigation, cropping pattern get distorted. You will be surprised if I tell you that farmer in Jodhpur district of Rajasthan sow groundnut at end April. End April in Rajasthan, they are sowing groundnut because no disease come at that high temperature to groundnut, and water is highly subsidized. Up to a point you don't have to pay, only beyond that you have to pay. So if we have these kind of policies, then I think we will remain water scarce. But if we have right kind of policy, then I will say we are not water scarce. Now MSP, there is a question some other person has also raised. See, there is a context specific need for MSP. I do not say that we should not have MSP. Rather, I am a supporter of MSP in a particular context. All countries are giving it. China is giving it. USA is giving it. EU is giving it. Nearly 80 countries are giving some sort of support. But thing is, how you give, where you give, in what form you give this subsidy. Then this MSP should be given, and what should be level of MSP. One is that if your markets are not efficient, if your markets are not competitive, and farmer is getting less than what should be the genuine price, in that case it becomes duty of the state mean government, to see to it that farmer get what is due to them. What is due to them, they should get that. And in developing countries, generally markets are imperfect, markets are not competitive. Often farmer get less price. So that is what make it must to pay price in those situations. But if markets are competitive, then that one ground goes. Then second is that even if markets are competitive, but there is a glut. There is a glut. So price crash. In those kind of situations also, there is a case to see that farmer is not ruined, because agriculture commodity, it is their nature, but economists call inelastic demand. So inelastic demand means if demand is 0.1, price elasticity of demand, then 5% increase in production will lead to 50% decline in price. And 5% decrease in production will result in 50% increase in price. This is because of nature of inelastic demand. these things make it must to intervene. But thing is, then MSP become problem, then you start milking MSP. Milking MSP means you do not believe in the MSP that is suggested by an expert body. See, there's the expert body, CACP. One can say that, okay, our representative should be there, farmer representative should be there. In these kind of things, when this farmer agitation was there, I wrote a piece in Indian Express. I took a position there, what should be criteria for giving MSP? What should be level of MSP? MSP is a minimum support price, but we are trying to make it maximum. Now what is C2 plus F 50% or A2FL plus 50% is maximum. Okay? The MSP must have some relevance to open market, that whether demand and supply justify that this price should hold. But it is the market forces which are not letting farmer to have price which is justified by demand and supply. So still I took a position that MSP should be announced by an expert body. It should be based on cost C2. I did not say A2 plus FL plus some incentive. How much that incentive is there? That can be 5%, that can be 50%, depending upon the market situation. That we should leave to the expert body that how much margin should be there. If you are mechanically saying that MSP should be 50% higher than this, then in a particular situation that justification may not be there. Market may not be able to buy it. So ultimately everything government will be required to buy. And government buying means ultimately it is our money. And the amount which then government has to spend, you will find it will lead to fiscal ruin. We reach that kind of situation. I hope you will take these things objectively, but next I am going to share you. But if it is sensitive, if you people are touchy about it, I will not share it with it. Like I had 2 meetings with Dr. Swaminathan in NITI Aayag with 12 other experts. We wanted to understand from him, sir, how you arrived at this suggestion, recommendation, that MSP should be A2 plus FL multiplied by, C2 multiplied by 50%. We wanted to understand it, okay? I have spoken on YouTube about it. I have written in newspaper. He did not give us any justification. Then I asked him, sir, you are saying C2 plus 50%. C2 include work done by family labor. It is not a cost incurred by farmer. C2 include rent on all land which is not paid by the farmer. We asked him, sir, can you share any book with us which says margin is not paid on cost, margin is paid on something other than cost. Margin is always calculated on cost incurred, investment made. It is not given on the cost which is not incurred at all. Again, he did not give any answer. There was some conversation between him and me, which I don't want to share. But really, before Government of India came with this, we wanted to have him on board. That this is your suggestion. We only want to know on what basis you have brought it and why it should be 50%, why not 5%, why not 80%. कोई criteria होना चाहिए ना. And he even asked me what could be criteria. I shared with him, sir, had you consulted me so many things. Then you wrote that report. Lot of my material is there in that report. I own it. But for this recommendation, you never consulted me. Therefore, if you had consulted me, I would have given you that suggestion. That it should be anchored to a criteria. Otherwise, it is a random number. Otherwise, it is your wish. All those things. So, MSP in particular situation should be there. Then second is that MSP need not necessarily be through procurement. We know anything done by government, they have to keep employee, how costly it becomes. Like if we are paying MSP, it costs 25 to 30% of MSP just to pay MSP. Just to pay MSP, that much cost is incurred. Then all other things happen. So I also suggested deficiency, price payment, all those things. But these things need to be kept some reasonable level. Regarding rural urban, again, I will share my paper. I will take your card. A card is coming. If you look at India's industrialization, since in urban area we don't have land, we don't want to have more pollution in urban area. So industry is already moving from urban to non-urban. And in India, definitionally, what is not urban is rural. So, like if you see, most of the production is happening in rural area, and the recent data of PLFS shows that the growth in rural worker is much higher than what is the growth in urban workers. It looks like that after COVID, once people went back, many of them decided to stay there and they are getting work there. So these changes are happening, but to draw definite conclusion, we need to wait for a little more time. But this creating, Abdul Kalam ji also talked about Pura model, providing urban amenities in rural areas. 15th Finance Commission also gave lot of money to rural local bodies, urban local bodies, and every state is required to set up a state finance commission. But you know, no state set up those commissions. Even if that commission says something, no state listen to them. All these things are happening. Somebody need to look at what 15th Finance Commission said about local and urban and rural local body, what kind of devolution should happen, and they can legally see to it that it, but nobody is looking at it. So you see at two levels, one is devolution from center to state, and second is from state to panchayat, as per the some principle which is suggested by 15th Finance Commission. At what principles will be suggested if they set up the state finance commission, but they are not setting. So I agree with you that we need to do something to this. There was the next question on relook at this structure of land, probably, but you were suggesting it that time has come not to have this land ceiling or those kind of things. I think in India the more serious problem is to put a ceiling at the bottom and to liberalize land market. You all know what are the problem of tenancy. That we have this security of tenants just to ensure that after abolition of Jamindari system, some tenant they got that land which originally belonged to Jamindar. So tenancy law should not in any way lead to this kind of situation that those tenants are forced to give their land back. Those were the tenancy laws. NITI Aayag suggested the Modern Land Lease Act, which said its provision will be applicable retrospectively, not prospectively, not from that years, and how the question of security of tenancy comes into picture. But many people are now living rural area, many people in Hyderabad, they are not going back to their village, but they don't want to sell land for various reasons. One is that appreciation in land prices is highest among any asset, even higher than even gold. And second is that we have some emotional attachment with the land. Thirdly, we think maybe after my retirement, after 20 years, I would like to go back and settle there. So those feelings are there. People are not selling their land, but they are keeping it fallow. They are not leasing out. In every state, area under fallow land in India is increasing. So I think the more important issue in case of land are land lease and to ensure viability of very, very tiny land holdings, to see to it that those who want to do agriculture, they have opportunity to expand their size of holding by leasing in land, and those who are not earning enough, they should be able to earn some income through rent and then lease out and do some other things. So those are the issues to my mind at current times. This issue of removing land ceiling, etc., I don't think it will have much kind of goal which we want to achieve for this country. Then our farmer friend who asked about subsidy, I was not opposed to subsidy. I was saying, I will deal with it in a different way, that if we have to see how much is the profitability from different things, there are different ways. Like you as farmer are not paying for urea, but somebody is paying. Huh? Free to nahi hai. Maybe someone else is paying. Taxpayers are paying. So we need to see that if suppose you get a profit of 5,000 rupees from sorghum. Suppose you get 5,000 rupees from sorghum. Out of that, you applied, example hai, 5 bags of urea. So 5,000 was say subsidy on that. So actually, there is no gross value added. It is only financial scheme because of which you went for that production. So according to society point of view, this is not an optimum or efficient allocation of resources. Resources are getting allocated wrongly. They should get correctly. But there are different ways to give subsidy. It can be given. It can be per farmer that, okay, we are giving 1.5 lakh crore rupee subsidy. You give per acre. You give based on yield or whatever. But if you are distorting prices, then it affects allocation. Resources get allocated in the places where they are less productive compared to where they can be more productive. So that's why I was saying that it should be compared, that if it is the other way around, if we take into account what is the cost to the society, then we can have some policies for different kind of allocation. Regarding crop damage, my understanding is that if there is a crop loss because of insect pests, it is also covered under insurance, but I will go back and I will check it. If it is not there, I will definitely take up the case with the Ministry of Agriculture. But my understanding is that crop loss because of pest is also taken into consideration for payment of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Regarding this digital data advice to the farmers, it is already happening. Now we are moving toward digitalization, but it will not happen overnight. You see, it will take time. There is a digital agriculture mission. In most of the agriculture university, I think they are adopting digital mean for crop advisory, for other kind of agriculture advisory. So we are already going for it. There is one issue or observation, Chandra Reddy sir said, I don't call it question, center and state. You see, in case of agriculture and many other subjects, we are not maintaining this rigid distribution of subjects between center and states. Right from the beginning, you will just find education is also state subject, health is also state subject, agriculture is also state subject. But for whatever reason, both center as well as state are paying attention to all these subjects. The only thing is that those which are central subjects, their state is not paying anything because it can't. That is probably the reason. So one is that we are not strictly going for what is constitutionally decided. There is a background for it. People discuss a reason for it. And some people say that it is desirable also in a country like India. So that is one thing. Now regarding, suppose you gave example of why technology from elsewhere, let us talk clearly, say GM technology. Why we are not letting it? You see, you know, at center there are much stronger forces which are there to oppose any decision which is done for any sector. Prashant Bhushan and all those liars, you know that Government of India wanted to go for this kind of thing, but it is the Supreme Court which is stopping that you can't. But then center told state government, if you want to go for it, you go for it. But no state did. Actually what is happening that we are throwing ball in each other's court. That center says, state you do it. And state says, no, we are closer to farmer, difficult for us, center should do it. It is a question of overall polity and what kind of debate we are having. You see, when Dr. Swaminathan published an article in Current Science that transgenic and GM are not good, lot of people who were for it, they turned against it. You see, even in the country, we are not able to develop consensus for it. That is the reason. You know that any science, any modern thing, it is difficult. But main thing is that even if I tried hard, I sat with the ministers who mattered at midnight, they gave that time. Finally, they agreed in steps, let us first give permission to Penton Saab's ka, that GM mustard, etc. But then court, you see, some people went to the court and court is not. So I think there are those kind of issues also. The only way to counter those kind of issues is the demand must come from farmer group. Whenever I meet farmer group, many of them come, they discuss with me. I ask them, you never raise your demand beyond asking MSP or asking some subsidy. Did you ever ask for, we want 1% of agriculture to go for R&D? We want 1% of agriculture to go for R&D? Did you ever say that you have so many mandi charges, 0.5% of mandi charges should go for agriculture R&D? I mean, developmental activity, technology-related activity, growth-related activity, that kind of demand is not coming from farmers group. I found only two farmer leaders, one you, another was that Shetkari Sangathan of Maharashtra. Other than these two groups, whatever we are getting, it is anti-agriculture. 3 days back, government of Punjab came with the OM that they declared 20 silos as the sale point for wheat. They said, farmer, why you will take your wheat to the mandi? Entire wheat surplus is bought by government. You take directly to the silo. Your cost will also be saved. Our cost will also be saved. You take there. Next day, farmer said, you are bringing farm law from back door. You are bringing corporate. And I got a copy today. They did do that. Certain things which are in favor of farmer, it is the constituency of farmer which should work toward them. There is a need for that kind of awareness and education among farmers. Then it becomes easy. Then one can dismantle much of the opposition from intellectuals. Governments are not so much worried from the criticism of intellectuals, but they are certainly worried about how the farmer or society for whom they have to take this action, how they will take it. So that I think that matters. But as far as NITI Aayag is concerned, sir, what you suggest, we try to do it. And a couple of states, they meet also. We have developed a platform for whatever your grievance with the state, or if there is a common issue, we would like to flag it. We would like to take it to the central government. And now we have set up a state support mission also. The main purpose of that state support mission is to put states on one platform, but states do not come on one platform. You can imagine, when some chief minister decides that we will not come for even meeting of Governing Council of NITI Aayag, though they are member of the meeting of Governing Council. You see, the way polity is getting developed in this country, make the coordination work really difficult. Otherwise, I think even in my conclusion I have written good coordination of center and state. I know how important it is for subject like agriculture. Without coordination, very difficult to go very far. Yeah, idea of retail chain and other things. I would say that ultimately, whether it is a retail chain, whether it is other things, it is that we need participation of private sector in agriculture. We need increased private sector participation. Again, that is needed, and it should be done. That was the underlying goal also. Under many of the moves of the government, and MSP I have already given my comment, but I would say that we need nuances. And regarding export and import ban, Government of India, I have written again a paper on this before becoming member of NITI Aayag. and many other governments never followed policy of free trade. Every country is following policy of strategic liberalization. The meaning of strategic liberalization is true meaning. That meaning is that if prices in domestic country become too high, protect interest of consumers. If prices go too low, protect interest of consumers. And if you look at the past, you will find. Now you are looking at ban total export of onion, but you are not looking, even today, there is a duty of 40% on import of beet. Otherwise, beet in international market in the Central Europe is selling at 1800 rupees a kg. In South India, it will be available at 20% lower price than what is the price in the beet producing states. So do you think interest of producers is not protected? I am member of the committee of ministers where generally these things are discussed, and I am privy to most of the decisions which are taken. I can tell you that since because of farmer agitation, the objective criteria has to be bid down. The objective criteria was that government will go for export ban, import liberalization, or essential commodity act, provided prices cross a band. That band was worked out based on my suggestion. Still, if you look at the price data on Ministry of Consumer Affairs, they are giving that trigger. They have not removed it. The trigger which I suggested, that if price of a particular commodity goes beyond certain level, only then government will interfere. Beyond that, we will allow arbitrage to happen. But since those laws were not there, then again it came that it has to be decided. And do not forget, 80%, more than 80%, this 80% number I calculated long back, farmer of this country are net food buyers. They are not net food sellers. They buy more food than what they sell. So their food security. So when farmers come and tell me, you are giving free food to consumer because of this, I am getting less price. I asked them, you know how much of them are farmers? How much of them are farmers? Again, more than 90% farmers are getting that NFSA, free beet and rice. So you look at a particular policy and see that there are farmers who are surplus, there are farmers who are marginally surplus, there are farmers who are chronically deficit. They are consumers. So if we are doing something, the interest of those 80% farmers is also looked after. But putting duty on import is often resorted to whenever international prices are low. That is to protect interest of producer. I can give you example. I joined NITI Aayag in 15. From 16 to 21, the area for sugar in hundreds of crores of rupees. You know what was the reason? Because we did not let international price of sugar to come into our market. Internationally, the sugar was available at 17, 18 rupees. Then we were keeping sugar price, minimum sale price of sugar more than 30 rupees, just to ensure that sugar farmer get a particular price. So we should not look only to one side. We should not look at that this is the policy which is damaging. You need to look at the other side also, that there was a policy which was benefiting also. The ultimate goal of all government, today's government, whether center or state, cannot afford to ignore interest of the farmers. That is for sure, that we may be feeling that no, there is a consumer bias, there is a producer bias. It will look in a particular situation that kind of bias is there. But overall, it is a balancing exercise.